Welcome back, everyone. Sorry about the delay with the next project related video. I'm in the middle of hanging skins on the bus, but that's taking a lot longer than I thought it was going to. So let's take a look at something else that's going to go on there in the meantime. So what we have here is a lot of the equipment that I'll be using for my recirculating shower and potentially recirculating laundry facilities. So yes, I will be installing a washing machine on this bus. I want the ability to control my water, and hand washing clothing that you're not doing in a stream or lake definitely takes up a lot of it. So I want the ability to use a washing machine again. I would prefer not to have to do all my time with chores. I mean, the whole purpose behind camping is to get out there and spend some time in the wilderness and not do a whole lot of extra work. So I found a washing machine that uses between 4 and 8 gallons depending on the size of the load you use. And I think I've got some options here. So let me show you what we're dealing with. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to put this all on one system or if I'm going to use two separate ones. So I have all the equipment to separate this out, but I also might be able to use it all as one. So this is a 5-gallon freshwater tank. You can see here we have an 1.5 inch intake and then 3 3/4 inch fittings on here. So this one will live probably in this orientation in the right side compartment in the back of the bus. This one would be where the water comes in from the shower drain, and then flowing out from here is where you would have your filtration system. This, you can see it, is a 20-gallon tank with similar fittings on the front. So this one I purchased for purposes of use with the washing machine, figuring that at most I should be dealing with about 10 gallons of water per cycle. So hopefully I can keep up with it that way. Now again, if I need to separate these out, I'll do so. But I'm kind of wondering if I might be able to use the same filtration system on everything. You know, just use the same water supply for showers and laundry. So one of my plans coming up is going to be to temporarily assemble all of this stuff, put the filters in, and run some gray water through it and see what happens. If I can get it clean enough, and I can do my own testing of the water and see how this looks. But if I can get it clean enough, then why not? I'll use the 20-gallon tank and forget about the 5-gallon job, and we'll just run everything through the same filtration. But here's what we have. Coming out of the tank, first thing you'll have is this spin-down sediment filter. So there are obviously a lot of different ways to do this. This one is large enough that I should be able to get some good volume through here. So it's not terribly fine, but it's enough to be able to keep hair and big particles of dirt and sand and things like that out of the system. And then the other thing I liked about it was the fact that I can attach this valve to the bottom of it. So this one will be hard mounted inside the compartment. And when it comes time to drain this out, I can always put a hose on the bottom of this, open the valve. Sorry, that's closed. Open the valve and just let this drain out, and then I can take this apart and clean the filter. So this will be the first thing after the tank. Then I've got this guy. This one is a Whale universal pump. It's designed for fresh and gray water, so it doesn't cycle quite as much. Some of the gray water pumps are not designed to maintain pressure. They're just designed to move water. So I want to make sure I had something that could do pressure, but this one is a diaphragm pump and should be able to handle a little bit of extra debris in the system. Obviously this is going in line after this filter, so this should be able to keep the biggest stuff out of the pump, and then this will supply pressure for the rest of the system. So after the pump, next thing in line are going to be 2 of these big blue 10-inch filters. So I was trying to go as large as I possibly could with this stuff. I want to make sure that I don't have to replace the filter elements too terribly often. And I wanted to make sure that I had a system that could keep up with the water supply going through, and I wasn't going to be limited by the filters too much. So these are pretty good size. They do make a larger one, but this fits in my compartment really nicely. So there's our opening and our fitting size. Pretty good size. As for the filters that go inside of it, I've got these. These are 5-micron filters. So they're sediment filters. These are not activated charcoal. The idea behind this is to be able to take some chemicals out, but it's really there to take out the debris and the cloudiness from the water. So the sediment in solution, this should be able to take it out. So this one goes first. Then I have these. So these are the same kind of 10-inch filter. These are 1-micron sediment filters. So same idea, just a little bit finer. This one's going to go in the second housing over here. So we'll have a coarse sediment filter before the pump, then a 5-micron, then a 1-micron after the pump. From there, my plan is to run it through a heat exchanger. So I'm going to be using a hydronic heating system connected to a lot of different heat sources. I'll go over that in detail once I start acquiring those parts. But the hot water for this will be dealt with by a liquid-to-liquid heat exchanger. My plan is to put all of this stuff in the right rear compartment of the bus. So it's down under the floor, and I will need to figure out how to keep the water from freezing, but having the heat exchanger down there should help with that. Anytime I'm using the system or anytime the heater is running, it should bleed a little bit of heat off into that compartment. I also have one of these. This is an electric heating pad for a water tank. This is sized appropriately for the 20-gallon tank I showed you earlier. So this one should be able to keep it from freezing. I'll have more than enough electrical power in the bus to keep this running if necessary. I can also insulate the compartment. I'll show you what that looks like here in a little bit, but that should be able to keep some of the heat in. So the heat exchanger will be the next step after we get out of the second filter. That way, hopefully there's not a lot of sediment buildup in there from using the system. But again, that heat should be able to bleed off and help heat the entire compartment as I use this. Let me get these out of the way. So you can mount these big blue filters from anything that you can attach to these upper 4 bolts. So what I chose to do was just buy some of the mounting brackets. This is just an L bracket here. So this sits over the top, just like that, and I can then hang this from a sliding armature inside the system that'll allow all the filters to come out except for this sediment filter. So after we go through the heat exchanger, then we're going to go up inside the bus, and I'm going to run through this. So this is a UV water purifier. So this is rated at 3 gallons per minute. I did that on purpose because I figure the pump that I'm running is rated at 1.5 gallons per minute, so this should be able to purify the water at twice the rate that it's actually going through. So hopefully that should be able to knock out any potential bacteria or anything else that might be growing in there. Viruses, all of that should be covered. So this will be mounted up inside the bus just to make sure that it's easy to access. I can protect it a little bit from vibration up in there and make it a little easier to deal with. So for the shower portion of this, or if I end up using the little 5-gallon tank, the water will come out of the purifier and go directly through a mixing valve and up into the shower head. So the mixing valve obviously will be isolated to this system, so half of the water will be coming through the heat exchanger and the other half will be just coming straight out of the tank to match my temperature, so I can set it for whatever I need. For the 20-gallon, I'm going to attach it to a hose bib that I can then draw off of for filling the washing machine. If I end up using the same tank for both, then I'll just put a splitter in place and be able to run one or the other. The nice part about that, even though everything I have here is really designed to run volumes higher than both washing machine and shower running together, I can guarantee that the two will never function simultaneously. Just don't run laundry while I'm showering, or vice versa. So as such, even if I run both of these off the same tank, I should be able to minimize the chances that I overload the filters, the pump, or the UV filtration system. So here we are on the right rear quadrant of the bus. This is the built-in compartment that I plan on using for this stuff. So if I use the two tanks together, I think you can see at least the 20-gallon. It'll sit right down here. There's enough room behind it and on the other side over there to put in at least 1 inch of foam insulation. If I use the 5-gallon tank, it's stacked right on top of it here, and there's barely enough room for it to clear. So I won't be able to put insulation inside here, and I really don't want to put any on the ceiling of this because that's right where the floor of the bus is, so that should be relatively insulated anyway. However, if I only use the one tank, this one here, then I've got plenty of room where this piece gets removed. If that's the case, then I will add some extra insulation to the bottom of this. If I use the two together, there is enough room underneath this that I can put about ½ inch of foam insulation and then just put an extra layer of material underneath to protect it. So I can insulate the whole box either way. But this is kind of how I plan to set things up. So back in here, I don't think you can see it. Let me see. Actually, you can. So right over there you can see is the sediment filter. So the water will flow into the top of this tank and then flow out of the bottom of the tank. So it'll have to go up to the sediment filter. Whoop, there we go. Up to the sediment filter, across, and then down to the pump here. Now I don't know if that's the orientation I'm going to put the pump in. Whichever way means the lowest amount of plumbing, it should work fine. These pumps are designed to be able to draw water up, I think a total of at least 20 feet. So it should be able to pull the water up through that filter and then back down into the pump. I certainly hope. If it turns out it's not going to work that way, then I may have to think of a way to raise this container up a little bit so I can have a little bit of gravity feed helping me out here. Either way, the two big filters are going to go right over here. You can see them right there. So these guys are going to be on a sliding armature. So what I've got are two, I think these are about 22-inch locking drawer slides. So the plan is to put these up and mount them just inside up here. And then what I'm going to do is put a framework on them that I can attach these mounts to. With this setup, I can either put two sets of filters side by side, so you see two of them in there right now. The other two would go just over to that side. Sorry, I'm struggling pointing, looking at the camera. The other two would go on the other side, but they can sit side by side and connect just like that. What I can do is put a small piece of hose on both sides of it, on the output here and on the input on the other side, and then just connect the two together with a piece of threaded PVC. So that then will allow me to slide the entire large filter assembly out of this container, out of this compartment, when it comes time to clean the filters. The biggest thing that I heard from people and watching videos was indicating that people don't like having to deal with these filter housings. Obviously, to some extent, I can put a drain in on the tank here, and I can just drain the tank out, but then I still have to deal with all the water that's in these big filters. So those two right there are going to have to come out. So I have to disconnect this, pull it down, and take it out. Now that either means if I'm doing it in there, it's going to make a mess. But if I can pull it out, you know, pull the whole thing out of the compartment, then I can just put anything underneath it that I want. A dish pan. If I'm in a place where it doesn't matter if I dump a little gray water on the ground, I can just dump it. But either way, I can then clean and service each of the filters without any problems. So as long as I put some loops of flexible hose on both sides of that system, it should work out pretty well. I'll definitely show you more about this as I assemble the system, and obviously I'm going to be doing a lot of testing on this. But right now I just wanted to do a little chat about what I'm planning. So this setup is going to be hanging up above the floor, so there should be about, say maybe 5 inches of clearance underneath the filter housings. That's where the heat exchanger is going to be mounted. And obviously I can put 2 of those in down here. So if I end up putting 4 filter housings instead of 2, I'll just put a heat exchanger under each. And the idea behind that should then provide waste heat that will then climb up and help heat these filters, which don't have heaters of their own. Sitting underneath this water tank over here is where the electric heating pad is going to be. So that should be able to keep my water tank relatively warm. And then obviously with the smaller tank sitting on top, if I choose to do it that way, I should be able to get some benefit from this water as it heats up in keeping this one somewhat warm. So like I said, I'll go over this in greater detail in the future as I assemble this system, and we'll do some testing of it and all of that before I actually get around to putting the shower in this bus. But for now, planning on recirculating shower and laundry facilities using this equipment right here. So for any of you who have seen this done or seen a variation of it, feel free to drop some comments. Let me know what I'm not thinking of or what other people might benefit from when they're considering doing something like this themselves. And we'll see how it goes. The biggest thing that I know is a large percentage of the water that we use as humans is coming from things like reservoirs, rivers, places that it has to be purified and cleaned. Now, I'm not planning on using significant chemicals to clean my water. I'm just going to use filters and ultraviolet. But that said, I've definitely drunk my share of water out of a stream using a backpacking filter. So as far as I'm concerned, if I can consume that water, then I should sure be able to shower in it. And I should be able to wash my clothing in it. So we'll see how things go when it comes to soap and soap scum and that kind of deal. But I'm hoping these filters will be large enough and fine enough to take that out. So we'll give it a try, and I'll see you over the next horizon.